Good afternoon, MC, honored judges, fellow cadets, ladies and gentlemen. I am LAC Tino, representing the 204 Black Maria Squadron. I'd like to share with you my views on Canada's water stewardship, because like you, I get thirsty. Let's look at water for a minute. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, which creates H2O, or as most of us know it, water. Water is the basis of all life on planet Earth, which makes it an unalienable right for humans, which are 93% water. What is an unalienable right? Well, unalienable rights are the basic rights that every human has to survive, such as clean air, clean soil, and of course, clean water. Canada has one of the largest freshwater resources in the world. Canada has 2% of the world's population and 20% of the world's freshwater resources. With so many places in the world facing water shortages, severe drought, or no clean water, Canada's water is in extremely high demand. Continuing to export our water supply to places like the United States could lead us into water shortages also. A prime example of this is the episode of Gunsmoke called Chesterland. In this episode, the Deputy Chester buys a barren, dry piece of land in Kansas, which had no rain. He makes his house underground, and with his digging, he finds a massive water supply. His wife-to-be persuades him to sell the water for money, and they ultimately run the supply dry instead of using it for their survival. Chester also wanted water to make a farm and to grow crops, but without proper irrigation, any kind of farming was rendered impossible. Oh yes, did I also mention that his wife-to-be ran off with his money, so he ended up penniless after the water sales? This could certainly happen to Canada if we continue to play the part of Chester when it comes to our water supply. Maybe it has already happened. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. That's a dandy acronym, isn't it? Now, when it comes to water, there's also another fun acronym, GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. If you haven't read NAFTA, let me divulge on what kind of an impact this agreement has on Canada's water supply. When signed, the United States got control of every single drop of water in Canada. Federal politicians reassure the Canadian public that water is protected under NAFTA, but it's not, although it was protected under GATT. Now, why did we let that go? NAFTA's water treatment obligations are also unlimited, leaving Canada helpless whenever the United States demands our water resources. NAFTA puts all known relevant laws, regulations, and policies to rest. Not only that, but bottled water companies, not mentioning any names for the protection of corporations like Nestle, are extorting what is naturally ours and selling it back to us for a profit. You may be asking yourself, why can't we stop the Americans? Doesn't Canada have rights? Yes, Canada does have rights, but NAFTA denies our government the right to stop the United States from exporting high volumes of water out of Canada. And trying to stop the bottled water companies from taking our water would be futile, because they would sue the Canadian government on the grounds that they did not comply to the terms of the NAFTA agreement. In other words, the United States really has us in a legal bind. Did the Prime Minister at that time even bother to read NAFTA? From my research, it seems like the President at that time put a gun to the Prime Minister's head and told him to sign NAFTA. I also know from my research that I'm not the only one who perceives the signing of NAFTA in this way. On the part of keeping water clean and pure for future generations to enjoy, we have to remember that every time we pollute the water, that water will come back just as dirty and poisonous as it was first polluted. Because water is a continuous cycle, and it doesn't always go through water purification plants or sewage treatment. And with the new and toxic chemicals that are in corporate waste, it will be a long time before the water system is rid of those toxic chemicals that have been generated by us humans. Yes, us, not the animals. We are all criminals for allowing the pollution and possible destruction of Mother Earth's water supply, which is meant to serve all life forever. Keeping water clean is everyone's personal business, but it is also up to corporations to lead by example and to employ better treatment for their wastewater. Some corporations have taken the environmental approach, but it is still an expensive part of doing business. Heavy industries, such as the petrochemical industry, have not, or they are, but it is not compensating for the amount of pollution the industry produces. The largest Canadian affected area is the tar sands oil field in northern Alberta. Their constant water usage drains wetlands and basins, and contaminated water is sent back into the local freshwater systems. It's happened at least once in BC when a retaining wall of a tailing pond broke and sent contaminated water into the freshwater systems. To wrap this speech up, I'd like to say that the cadets, as representatives of the Queen, have to do their part to protect Canada's water for her and her subjects. I'm very honored to have made it this far in the effective public speaking competition, but to me, it's not about the competition. What really matters to me is if this speech makes every single one of you think about the importance of Canada's water and what it means to our future generations. Think green.